We'll bring you in. All right, guys. Good evening. It's Adam Van Ort, and welcome to the first live at 9:45, where I am trying to successfully bring my guest in with the new method and all of the stuff that is going on. Bear with me for a second, as I have some growing pains, and I'm manipulating some of the things that we have, and I'm having some issues. And so, again, my stream status is back to bad, and I don't understand why. All right, people who are watching, can you see anything? Am I having issues here? I've got technical problems going on, I believe. All right. See a bunch of people in there. Ben Morin's in there. Podium Power Sports in there. Chat not really clicking off right now. Okay. So, getting no feedback from you guys. Looks fine to me. That's awesome. See and hear you fine. No noodle though. Okay, yes. I will be bringing him on in just a second, guys. From my end on the computer, it looks like everything is tanking, but we will get this fired up. So really what's going on, and I apologize for the weird intro. I'm Adam Van Ord, your host of Live at 9:45. This is the first one where I am maneuvering the whole guest and OBS stuff. So bear with me, as I'm sure we're going to have some technical difficulties or some of the stuff going on. Additionally, I want to talk about my guest that's going to be on tonight. I have Wesley Jared Steinke, I believe is the correct way to say it, and I will ask him about it in just a second. And he is waiting on the other end here and ready to come in and be a part of this interview, and he is the guy behind Brazin Scale RC. If you don't know what Brazin is, all of that information can be found down there inside of the description for this feed, as well as links to all of Wes's social media stuff, my social media stuff, my website, and also his website. So when you're done with this, go ahead and get there. If you guys would do me a favor and you're watching this and kind of share it over on Facebook, that would be amazing. I was having some technical difficulties getting things fired up, and as a result, I didn't quite get that happening like I was hoping for. So, without further ado, I am going to transition Wes over into here and get this show fired up and on the road. All right, man. How's it going?
Hey, what's up, man? How you doing?
I am doing well. So, I apologize for the technical difficulties, Wes, but I think we have things going and up and running, and hopefully things are good on everybody else's end who is viewing what's going on. To answer some questions that I've seen pop up, Ben Morin, there is no like button, unfortunately. It's a like button at the end after the video, so if you like the interview, hit that like button and give us some support. Your comments coming through are amazing. I appreciate each and every one of your comments. So let me pull up the questions here, Wes, and I will get started in answering them for you. The first one's easy, and it's the typical question that is, tell us a little bit about yourself and kind of how you got into the hobby and so on and so forth.
My name is Wes Steinke, Stinky. I've been to public school. I've heard it all. If you tell me something I haven't heard, I'll probably give you a chassis.
Well, then I want to try. So
Challenge accepted. Owner, originator, founder, head noodle of Brazin Scale RC. How I got into the hobby, it was I was into 1/1 scale trucks, and these happened to be a lot cheaper to break, and I didn't feel as bad thrashing these around.
All right. So I see some people saying video's a little bit glitchy. That was one of the issues that we had run into. I was concerned about my stream health, and I don't know why. Apparently I'm gonna have to do some reading because, as I said to all of you guys before, that's on me now, and I have to learn how to fix it. But anyway, we're gonna continue on with things. I might try and make an adjustment or two as we're live and going. So if you see me veering off and looking over this way, I'm trying to fix things on my end on the computer. But Wes, thanks for being on, man. I appreciate the first question there. And so, like, how long have you been in the hobby? And I'm gonna double up on questions. How long have you been on, and what or who got you into the hobby?
Man, time flies. I believe it's been about 7 to 8 years, which is fairly new considering some of your other guests. Fairly super new. What got me into the hobby? One of my close friends back in South Bend, Jesus, he kind of enlightened me on some of the tracks and stuff that were around and we could hit up. I originally started doing like short course racing. I wasn't initially into the crawlers; they weren't quite that big yet.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's about it.
All right. What was your first hobby grade RC? Like, specifically the first one that you ended up with, kind of got this thing rolling.
Yeah, back to like the short course racing. My first hobby grade RC was a team associated SC10. It was just 2-wheel drive, brushed. I think I did like the 3 installments on Tower Hobbies, I believe. You know, started out with nothing, and then it just grew from there.
Awesome. So, if you weren't in like as involved in the Scale RC hobby as you are, what would you be doing for a hobby of choice? What would you be spending your time doing instead of this?
Those of you who follow like my personal profile, I'm definitely into the 1-1 wheeling. I've kind of outfitted my truck for camping and like a kind of like an adventure rig. So if
Yeah.
I wasn't doing the 10 scale crawling, I would probably have way too much camping gear and probably pack another garage full of with a whole adventure trailer and way too much bigger expensive toys.
Right. I could see that being really easy to spend money and take up space without a doubt. So, are you a fan of bigger tires or smaller tires?
Um, I it's pretty hard for me to decide. I'm not so much a 2.2 tire, like huge tire fan. Most of my trucks are built around like the bigger end of the 1.9. But if I had to pick one and stick with one, I would probably go with like the class 1 size, like 4.19, just for the purity of um, the challenge.
Right.
It's a lot of fun.
Right, and so that's kind of where like a lot of people kind of settle on. Originally, they started with like some of the bigger tires or like whatever, but they generally are like falling in the like 1.9 sizes, like anywhere from 4.19 through like the 4.75 size. I feel like a lot of people fall there, and so I pose this to people watching this live. Feel free to answer it up, and people watching it later over here on YouTube. In the comments section, definitely talk about what kind of tires you want to run on your stuff, what size, what's going on, and feel free to answer the next question as well in the comments section, guys. But are you a brush or brushless fan, Wes?
I run a little bit of both, but I'd say I call it my DD rig, like my every weekend trail bashing rig. It's got to be brushless. I run that truck through whatever, whenever, however long, and maintenance wise, I feel like brushless is kind of the go-to. And there's probably going to be people out there that completely disagree, but that's just been my personal experience.
Right.
Sensor just came a long way, and I think that's gonna continue to grow. I've yet to try any of the revolver motors from Holmes yet, though, which I need to get on.
Right. They're cool. Dude, I can't. It might just be personal preference. I'm sure it is, but the whole noise thing gets me every time. I can't lie, and I'm not knocking them at all for it. I had one of the older style ones that was censored, and it was loud. The new ones are like a lot louder, and I know they have some other stuff happening as well that can kind of deal with that. So
Well, I just got a dog, so now I'm thinking if that might. Hey, leave a comment below. Do you run the revolver around a dog? Does that make a big difference? Because I'd like to know. I'd like to figure that out.
right. So I just responded. I got someone saying I have a bad echo going on. I don't know if it's me or you, and I have settings to adjust both of those guys. Just let me know what's going on there. From Wes, am I echoing into him, or is he echoing, just sounding echoey? All right. Next question. Let's start talking a little bit about your favorite part of the Scale RC hobby.
Um, I would have to say I love that there's infinite ways to build or customize the vehicle, similar to like back to like the 1-1 trucks. You see like you could Google search whatever and you'll find it. It's the same idea with 10 scale crawlers, which is what I like. And back to like my like short course racing, yeah, you couldn't like fabricate. You could fabricate bumpers and stuff for it, but that's gonna like kill the truck's performance. And in a competitive setting, that's not really what you want. So the 10 skill crawling definitely um, brought out that I'm like I can customize whatever.
All right.
I think
Awesome.
yeah.
Sorry, man. I'm trying to do like 500 things at once, and this is all new to me. So, as always, if you've ever watched any of the past episodes, guys, you know that this is all trial and error, and I thank you all for continuing along with me. But so let's talk about some of the Brazin stuff. If people know a little bit about you, they probably already know that you're involved with Brazin Scale RC. How did it get started? Do you possibly have something kicking around that you can show us that is like an example of some of the first stuff that you had going on? And if so, can you talk a little bit about that?
So you got me sad now. My first chassis, first truck I made is like way out in the garage. It's awaiting an updated like 10.2 drivetrain. But I do have I do have the new all-time low chassis. And I'm just test fitting some other components. I'm really like having a lot of fun making new components and stuff for this chassis. Um, so how Brazen got started was I got into the trail honcho, and I can't leave nothing alone. So naturally, I take it all apart, see how it works, see what'll work, what doesn't work well, and then it kind of I had some sort of like drawing background, so I just gave my dad a sketch of like a frame rail design, and it had a little squiggly in it. You know, it's the classic noodle. And after I got a set of rails cut, threw them on, ran it locally with the local club, and they're like, "What the heck is that?" And then the truck performed pretty good, so they're like, "What is that? And how can I get my hands on that?" And then here we are, like 5, 6 years later, and we're shipping chassis to places I've never learned about in geography class.
All right, man. That's kind of a crazy story. It just compounds and keeps going and going. So
Just word of mouth.
hopefully, I just fixed the echo. I found it, guys. I had missed a button. Totally my fault. I apologize.
Buttons will get
When
you
you
time.
right when you do the testing and stuff and all that, and it just missed one, I apologize. But I found it. So yes. Anyway, thanks for hanging in there with me. I'm glad that I fixed the echo. But so what can you tell us about the name for Brazin Scale RC? Like, where did it come from?
So it originally was like I would say like a build log page, and I posted up on our local group, Michiana Scale RC Crawlers, shout out. But I posted up, I'm like, hey, let's put this name to a vote. And my friend Kyle Thomas not only thought of Brazin Scale, he made our logo, which is we still use. I like it. It's different. The purple's pretty unique and stands out. And it's just, if it ain't broke, don't fix it kind of thing.
Yeah.
All left it up to a local group vote, and here we are today.
Yeah, man, it's awesome. I love the purple. You don't often see purple in a logo, so it's pretty unique. I dig it. I'm also a big fan of purple, so that tends to be a favorite of mine. So, speaking of favorites, what is your favorite part of running Brazin?
Meeting the people, man. I'm not like a super like jump out there and meet and greet kind of guy, but when someone comes up to me saying, "Hey, man, like I run this product, I got this product from my boy, me and him hit the trail and all that stuff," dude, that's awesome to me. I like seeing that. I like all the support, all the people that stand behind me and basically like staying on the sidelines, just like rooting for the you know throwing some new product out there. That stuff's, I don't know, I like that. I like seeing everything.
Right, understandable. It's definitely one of the cooler things about gaining more exposure in the hobby is then people come up and want to talk to you, and interacting with all of the people ends up being more fun than all the stuff you got into in the first place with the hobby. And so, at least for me anyway, where I'm at, and that part of it's super enjoyable. So that's an awesome answer. What's your least favorite part about running Brazin?
It's kind of difficult. Not that it's like a ball of joy all the time, but it's never really got like bad things going down. But if I had to pick like one thing, we usually like not re-sign, but like we kind of refresh the team every year.
Yeah.
And most of these guys are close friends of mine, acquaintances. So I think I got a couple drivers I've yet to meet in person, but they've been a team driver for like 5 years, and like that they start to become family. So I'd say my least favorite part is like maybe having to drop someone, because I'd like to keep everyone on board every year,
Right.
but continuously bringing on 2 people here, 2 people there, I can't really manage or effectively communicate to like a million people.
Right.
So man, I'm a pretty nice guy, but man, I hate like trying to drop, having to drop someone off the team. That's tough for me.
Yeah.
Even till this day.
Yeah, man, I can't imagine. So I don't really have a team. I have like my dad and Sean go everywhere with me, help with all the stuff. They're just like people who I would be hanging out with either way. But yeah, I can't imagine having to be like, yeah, I'm sorry, like I can't do. Yeah, I don't know. So that's interesting. I'm curious to hear a little more about the team stuff later on in our conversation. I always talk about the team things and how that applies inside of what's going on in Scale RC. I do have another question for you though, and that question deals with the new chassis that's coming out. But you had designed it kind of around the TRX4, I believe, at the time. Can you show us this chassis, discuss it, talk a little bit about it, tell us what it's called, all the details, all that good stuff, and I will bump you over so that people can get a good look at what's going on there. So,
I'll do the best with the lighting I have. So it's called the all-time low, and I named it that because it's probably the most aggressive chassis we've made. It's really aggressive while still maintaining like the scale aspect. And some people would argue, but it is all fun. I don't know. This is mainly at first it was gonna be just purely designed for the Traxxas, but then we had like a baby boom of Portal rigs come out. So I not only wanted to kind of step it up as a designer, but also kind of push myself that little extra bit. So we came up with a design that would fit all the portal setups, not just the Traxxas, which kind of led us into designing a special skid plate. It's a I call it the the TRX conversion skid, because
Mm-hmm.
what makes it unique is it's not this um, huge two-piece transmission design. It's like smashed down into the classic 3-inch width SCX10 style, and it even shares the same SCX10 style bolt pattern, which I felt was pretty unique and like really like putting our feet in the water.
Yeah. No, that's cool, man. To make that fit and work in that way, especially when you factor in the fact that like most people who have been in this hobby for a long time have some axial parts kicking around, because it's just kind of the nature of the beast. That's where a lot of people started, and a lot of these
Right.
new rigs weren't out. So making it more universal is pretty cool. So I did notice you elected to go with, so not only the chassis rails, but then like shapeways is where you're putting like the skid in those pieces. What's the motivation behind that?
Um, so it's a rather dodgy topic, but I feel not everyone is 100% behind like home 3D printed stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Um, now I've ran plenty of home 3D printed stuff, and the filaments you can get nowadays are light years beyond anything someone that bought a skid like 5 years ago and it fell apart on them.
Right.
Um, so I felt that if I were to just release like home 3D printed stuff, like there'd be a lot of naysayers. And I see the growth with the RC hobby through like Knights Customs and a bunch of other like vendors that um, kind of like I feel like Shapeways is kind of like breaking that mold, like getting it out of that it's flimsy kind of like uh trying to figure out the word.
Like the rudimentary stages, kind of where like
Right, like the people that still prefer carburetors over fuel injection, like
yeah.
the people are, time progresses. But I felt Shapeways is something everyone can kind of trust. Everyone has experience with that. And their product is rock solid. Which we'll get into that and some other. We got a couple other questions before,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah. And it's a really easy way to upload design and uh, sell through there too. That's super easy. I was actually pretty. This was my first go around with that, and I'm super satisfied
Yeah.
with.
No, that's awesome. So, um, stigma is the word you were looking for, according to Christopher Roshkosh. So,
Thanks, thanks. Day late, dollar short.
yeah, right, man. Always happens. Always when you're on the spot trying to come up with the words. So my next question is kind of, we know about this new all-time low chassis, so on and so forth. What are some of the other things that you and Brazin as a whole are currently offering for consumers?
Um, so not only chassis, obviously, but for 2019, we're in the beginning stages of experimenting with a bunch of like brace kits, not only for the all-time low chassis, but we plan on releasing brace kits for all of the chassis. We'll have 4 production chassis, and I got some pretty cool ideas for our C1 chassis. Not just basic braces. I got some pretty neat ideas that you guys will probably see in the next couple of months.
Mm-hmm.
The stuff does take time, test fitting and all that stuff. So if you guys be patient, you guys will see some more stuff. But we also, I don't know if it like how publicly known it is, but Bret, he's my co-owner helper.
Hmm.
He bought DCW crawlers. You may know them for their Delrin wheels.
Yeah, my
Uh,
dad has a set on the orange semi.
oh,
Those are
nice,
there's some
nice.
DCW wheels on the orange semi. So
Uh, so not only do we do custom wheels, custom offsets, they also have on the DCW end of things. We have like various little like um, dewangers and
hmm.
uh, other little accessories. We're slowly getting more and more stuff. It's just fun to, you know, make this stuff and release it to the public.
Yeah. So where does your background knowledge for that area come from? Like, I didn't give you this one ahead of time, so I'm sorry. I'm kind of off the cuff here, but as I'm sitting here thinking, like, how do you have the skills and the abilities to kind of design all of this stuff and get it all to work? Are you just like self-taught, self-learned? Do you have schooling in that way? Do you have job experience in that in a similar field? Any of that stuff?
Um, Man, big story. So I'm an automotive technician. I have a little bit of knowledge with drafting and CAD, but really not much. A lot of it has been helped through my dad. And here recently with the 3D components, good local guys, Vinny and Gary from 110 Scale really gave me that uh, boost of confidence to try and produce some 3D stuff and design that way.
Hmm.
So really, it's all self-taught. You just gotta kind of put your head down and muscle into it, and you know, it's all up here. It's another thing to put it on the screen. Um, I'm pretty good at sketching the stuff out on paper, but that doesn't translate well when you gotta send it to a shop and get it made. Like, what is this piece of paper? Email me something.
Yeah, I'm sure they're like,
So
"What do you mean you sent it in the mail?"
yeah, what do you what are you mailing?
That's awesome. So, uh, do you currently compete in any scale competitions? And if so, what is your favorite genre? And so I want to ask that not only of you, but to people in the comments section as well. If you're watching it live right now, list that stuff off. If you're watching it later and you're just posting up some comments or whatever, I'd love to hear them. I go back through and read everything that I can that's posted later. Unfortunately, the live stuff kind of goes by the wayside unless you're watching the feed, but anything that is commented on later, I reply to them all, and I genuinely look forward to each one. So, what kind of competitions do you guys go to? Same with Wes, and why do you like that one over the other formats?
I like anything tiny truck related, whether it's trailing, time comp like Sorka style,
Mm-hmm.
or even like G6 style. You can find me at Crawlapalooza. Um, I've been trying to hit that up every year now. That's a blast. Cody, they throw on a great event.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I actually just hosted my own timed comp here in Central Texas at Pedernales Falls State Park. That was a blast. There's um, people from the coast, which man, they hooked it. It's a good drive for them. I don't know. I think I heard like 7-ish hours. So that really meant a lot. Like shout out to the Houston guys, man. Um, but that was a blast. I think everyone had a lot of fun. It took all day, which I will. Next time will be faster, more efficient. But I think everyone still had a great time, which is all that matters. I
Yeah.
try to do something that can bring people together, even if it's for a few hours on a Sunday morning. Anything. I just like getting the people involved.
Awesome. So, Central Texas, as in question from Brian White. So like where in
Um,
Central Texas?
Austin, Texas.
Okay, Austin. And so Ben Morin wants to know if you're headed out to Axial Fest this year.
I do have some extra PTO. I will probably look into it.
Awesome. Awesome. So he said maybe. All right. So your build style is pretty unique compared to a lot of people that I watch building stuff. So a lot of the people in the scale community build very intentionally scale related trucks. So trying to build even replicas, if you will. You tend to be more competition oriented as a whole, and there aren't a ton of people out there doing that. There are, and there are people out there doing it, and they're doing a good job as well. But like you've been consistently in that style. I see a lot of Lexan bodies, pin tires, stuff like that. Can you talk a little bit about that thought process and kind of the how and why behind it?
Sure. Being unique is usually the first box I try and check off the build list. Um, Now I have numerous trucks. Most of them have all different setups. Um, Doing what I do, I have to see what performs better, what I need to do to change, what I need to change. And then at the opposite end of the spectrum, I do have an exact like mini replica of my own personal Land Cruiser. There's like probably hundreds of pictures I've taken of it. Um, but I feel like the kind of mindset progresses it keeps it interesting for me.
Mm-hmm.
If I don't build something entirely my own, I'll be bored of it. And then like stuff starts to feel repetitive.
Right.
Um,
Yeah,
and
man.
also like, oh,
I definitely feel the unique piece. Like, I got tired of the cookie cutter type build stuff too, and then I started doing some unique stuff, and then I never let any of that stuff go. Anything I build that's not like super unique, it just kind of goes by the wayside and goes somewhere else.
right.
So I have a question about the pin tires. Did you find a lot more performance or less like how'd that work out for you? Um,
I still have those tires. They were definitely just a kind of a statement.
yeah.
Um, they're great to run. Like there's plenty of just bare rock out here, and you'll pull the front end over before those tires will give up.
Hmm.
So I definitely see why they're banned in scale comp. um, and it was I guess the most humorous part of that was it was voodoo pins for the footprint, but the sidewall was Proline Hyrax. So shout out to Corey at Pertmart for. I figured maybe his house might catch fire. I don't know if those two spontaneously, combust or I don't know what happened. But
Oh,
he took
tire
this.
wars, let me tell you.
Yeah, yeah.
So, all right. So let's talk about the paint on your trucks. I dig it because it's unique and different. Can we talk a little bit about how it's unique and different? Can we talk a little bit about that process? And do you have anything that you can kind of show off to illustrate what we're talking about?
I do have an old Forerunner body. So first off, I'm a terrible painter. I get too antsy with the paint, the prep, all that good stuff. Never been my forte. So if I can just prep a brand new body and get the windows as lined up and as symmetrical as possible, then I can just blast some paint in there. That's awesome to me. So what makes the bodies unique is my girlfriend's really talented. She paints all the time. So one of my bodies was kind of beat up, but I was still running it. The Proline body's pretty durable,
Mm-hmm.
but the paint doesn't last. I handed her some Sharpies and I was like, have at it. And what she came up with was pretty awesome designs. And I bug her every time I get a new body painted. Now I'm just like, hey, do you want to paint on this? It's kind of faded away now because essentially it is just Sharpie on that outside, but it can all be touched up in a matter of minutes. This
So
is
it's just Sharpied on the outside of the body completely.
yeah. There's no like I didn't try and clear coat it or nothing. With this hobby, stuff gets scraped and cracked and broken.
What are you
No
talking
way
about? I
around
never
it.
scratch my paint.
Uh,
That was a joke. It's always scratched, but all
I
right.
think my 1-1 Land Cruiser is on its like sixth refresh coat of black paint.
I
But
can't even imagine on a 1-1 how that would all go. So I have this bad habit of once I've committed to some line or something, I really don't usually back out. And I think at first I'd
yeah,
be really timid, but then I probably wouldn't. So it'd be expensive.
the the reality of you having to drive it home really sets in real quick.
Yeah, the first time it won't drive home, I'm sure that would do it for me.
To be a wake up call.
Yeah, right. Um, so a lot of people kind of have a thing that they won't leave off of their scale builds. So it's either something that is kind of like their style, their signature thing that they do, or it is something that they just feel like no scale build is complete without this thing. Um, so I'll pose this to you, but again, people in the comments section right now in the live feed, but people also in the comments later if you're watching this on the after the show, I don't know, recorded view, I guess you'd say. Again, what is something that you won't leave off of your scale builds?
That's the easiest question you've asked me all night.
That's
A
usually
noodle
hard for people.
chassis,
It's awesome.
a Brazin chassis, man. Come on. No, in all reality, uniqueness. You got to stand out, build something your own, even if it's outside the mold. Um, that's if there's not a little bit of personality to the truck, why are you building it?
Right.
That's kind of my mindset.
Right, and I tend to agree with you in that front for sure. The one thing that I would speak to is that, and I'm guessing you're going to relate to this. When I started trying to add my own personal touches, there was no tremendous skill set where it looked awesome. There were some swings and misses for sure, without a doubt, and I would encourage anybody to just go for it. Like, it's your truck, it's your way. It doesn't matter what it really looks like as long as you're happy. So
I've seen coat hangers worked out in a manner to where it actually looked pretty decent. I'm not gonna mention names or people, but I've seen it and I didn't dislike it. But he went for it, and being fully committed is pretty funny, pretty
yeah,
good.
awesome. So, okay, let's talk a little bit about last week there was this like barrage of videos of your truck launching off of, let's say, scale cliffs or like giant redwood forest type trees. Anyway, it was catching some serious hang time. Was that reminiscent of your typical driving style? Was that R&D? Was that torture testing? Was that just like, hey, with some friends, I'm gonna send it? Like, what was going on there? It looked fun. Let's just say that. But
Yeah, definitely. I'm finalizing some Delrin links we plan to offer with the Traxxas platform. So with new stuff, you want to be tough on it. So normally I run like a 1900 kV motor with on 3S, and it's got some wheel speed, but for last weekend I threw in a 3300, and stuff happens, and I definitely, it's funny to do some durability testing, we'll say.
yeah, I mean,
So that's
sometimes
basically
it's fun to just kind of launch stuff. So
right.
yeah, I especially like the one where you went backwards and like flipped it and landed on the wheels and drove away. Why backwards? Like, I gotta ask.
So I had my motor backwards, so it was almost twice the speed in reverse. So I was like, well, if I send it backwards at this velocity and cut the wheel right before the lip, figuring this equation out in my head, it was going to work out perfectly and I would land it. but real world physics kicked in, and I landed it according to the masses, but it wasn't how I was anticipating it landing.
I mean, I give it like a 10 out of 10 because it's really hard to hit your roof and then like do like a half flip barrel roll and land and drive away. So
yeah,
it was well done. Even if that's not what you meant, it's totally what you meant. So, let's talk about the scale community as a whole right now and what's going on. And so, as you spend time on Facebook, Instagram, any of that social media stuff, what is your favorite build out there floating around the internet that is not your own?
Really, every single Toyota that Noob makes off Scale Builders Guild, every single one of those trucks, I would like to just open my wallet and fork up some coin for. So yeah, if he's watching that, get at me. I like the FJ60s. He had like an orange truggy. Or it was like it was an open top, like chop top FJ60, and that thing was just awesome.
Yeah, so I think you have to fight Mike Lohman for those. Mike Lohman owns like all of them, so good luck. I wish you the best. But anyway, what is your best piece of advice to people who are just starting out in the Scale RC community? Like grab their box stock truck, ready to kind of get out there and run, maybe do an upgrade or something. What do you recommend?
I just say this from personal experience. You don't need hundreds of dollars of drivers, tools. You don't need big shiny metal axles or even like a $1,500 to $2,000 comp truck. You don't need none of that. Just get out there and get on the trail and meet new people. That's honestly the most fun part of this hobby, is just meeting all the like-minded people, and someone has something to offer, someone to learn from. I'd say that's probably my best advice.
Yeah, which is great advice, and I hear people give that time and time again. And I feel like a lot of new people kind of miss that in the initial part. And I know, like, I myself missed it, and I know a lot of other people who are this far into the hobby missed it because shiny, blingy stuff is cool, and expensive parts are cool. And it's not that people aren't saying don't ever buy any of that stuff. It's just enjoy what you have, because you can have as much fun with a stock truck as you can a $2,000 truck. So
right.
All right, where do you see the scale crawling community coming? Oh my gosh, going in the coming years. I apologize. So,
if I had to forecast some prediction, I would say Lexan in the scale crawler comp setting is going to disappear or become like a class 3 only thing. I'm seeing so many new hard bodies out there with like fully decked out interiors from like floor pan up, like illuminated dashes. Like I feel like people are getting back into building that, and I'm getting pretty excited because I'm seeing all kinds of stuff. Like I was talking about Shapeways. There's some awesome stuff on Shapeways if you just search around. I mean, the market is growing, and I feel like hard bodies are going to be like a mainstream thing for class 1 and 2.
Yeah, I definitely see the hard body realm of things like really skyrocketing as well, with the 3D printed bodies and the increased availability of like the new bright bodies that people are finding all over the place. And like I watched the price go like down on the new bright stuff. 3D printing is still a fairly expensive way to get a body, but it's coming down a little bit. I don't disagree with you. I see that coming in the future for sure. So next question, and this one is not on your list, man. I got to thinking as we were having this conversation. I know over time Brazin has offered multiple different materials for frame rails. So, what is your favorite choice for material for your own builds, and why so many options?
Um, we try to bring something for everyone to the table. It's we got a lot of lightweight materials like carbon fiber and G10. Actually, if you check our website, we just got a really bright cherry red G10, which is pretty hard to get. We do have a limited run of that, but steel is super popular for fabrication. Aluminum also,
Mm-hmm.
and um, I run. I got stainless. It's a little heavy, but that chassis will look the exact same in 5 years. Um, my first original rail is stainless, and it looks as shiny as that one.
Yeah.
Um, I feel like people like options. There's some, like I said, we just try and keep something available for everyone's build, rather than just stick down one path and say, "Here you go."
Right, which I mean that makes sense and that's awesome. I'm glad that you're listening to the community, you're seeing what's out there and kind of paying attention to all of that. Uh, okay, so we talked a little bit about some of your responsibilities on your end of the whole team driver thing. I have a question about team driver stuff. I always like to ask questions about that. It seems to at times be a hot button conversation in what we're doing here. Um, what do you look for in a team driver, and what are your views specifically on sponsorship inside of the Scale RC community?
um, we don't normally go out seeking team drivers. Um, most of the people we bring on are people that stand out in the RC community. They're trying to do like they're really making a splash, whether it's putting on an event, bringing people out to the events, just anything that's kind of growing the hobby, which is something that I myself do. So if I can, if I see someone doing that and they're, really family oriented and stuff like that,
Yeah.
those are the people I would like to bring on. What I try not to do is like actually like chime in and say, hey, like you don't have to bomb every page, every post or anything like buy Brazin now or you're a chump. Like I I'm not into all that. As far as like team drivers, the best thing I get out of it is um they're like just product testing.
Yeah.
I got drivers from like all across the country. So they're not like if like for example, the all-time low stuff, there's people running stuff in snow conditions. I'm down here with the desert conditions, like testing wet, cold, rainy, muddy, snowy, everything. All that is awesome feedback, and I feel like that is probably the best use of the team driver, like status, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, I don't know. That's my biggest use for team drivers is just product input,
Right. Yeah, I
not
can.
necessarily promotional
Yeah,
purposes.
I can see how that would be definitely beneficial and helpful. And yeah, I mean, I don't know what else to say about that really. Uh, we're kind of coming into the close here, man, and so really my last two questions are very standard. First one is, what should we expect to see next coming from you? And then I have the follow up one, which you probably already know what it's gonna be, but just answer this one first, and we'll go there.
Um, so for 2018, wow, my mind is not 2019, 19.
Listen, it just
It's
happened.
too
It's only
early.
been like 2 or 3 weeks. We're okay yet. You get another 2 months probably before that's shunned. So
I haven't signed that many official documents this year, so I had to scratch off 18 and put 19. So for 2019, look out for basically all the brace kits. I'm really working, testing. I'm pretty. I don't know, I'm jumping in with both feet, trying to get brace kits and all that stuff. I'm loving the feedback I'm getting so far. I don't, right now I can't see there's any new chassis. You know, the wound's still fresh from that guy, the all-time low.
Yeah.
I think the local guys will see another event. Hopefully it'll double in size. Man, there's too much stuff. I'm trying to like condense it and spit it out.
That's fair. I get it. So, all right. Is there anything I forgot to ask you that I didn't touch on that you feel you need to get out there? That I missed or that kind of came up along the way that we didn't really talk about?
No, your interview process pretty good, I gotta say.
Thank you. I try.
I think I'm drawing a blank right now.
Barring the technical difficulties at the beginning of the video, because it, as always, I cannot. I mean, I came over here to get away from all of that, and as always, I had some issues, but we ran with it. Thank you for hanging in there with me, man. I appreciate it. All right, so if you don't have anything, I'm going to shift back over and kind of close the show out. You don't have to go anywhere technically, but at the same point, I'm going to let you go and kind of close the show and do all of that for the people who are in here watching and the people viewing later. So thanks for being on, man. I genuinely appreciate it. Hopefully we can do it again sometime in the future, and keep on doing what you're doing.
Thanks, man. You have a good one, dude.
Yeah. All right. So we'll shift just to me. And all right, guys. So that kind of sums things up. That's the end of the show for the evening. That's the first episode I've done this way of live at 9:45. It's been a good time. It was a rocky start. I appreciate each and every one of you who followed through from there, and anybody who's later who followed through. If you've watched this to this point, sorry, excuse me. If you've watched this to this point, make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit that alert bell, and like my videos if you feel like that's something that you should do, because every one of those subscriptions, those like bells, they allow you to get the info when I go live every week, when I put up a new guest, so on and so forth. Additionally, go down into the description at the bottom of this video and check out not only my links to my social media and website, but also Wes's links to the Brazin stuff. Brazin's doing cool stuff, and that will get you to a spot where you can check out all of that. As always, I want to thank you guys for tuning in, and if it wasn't for all of you, it would just be me talking to a camera, and that's super boring. No one wants to see that. So I'll continue to do this for you, and hopefully next week will go even better. Thanks, guys. I appreciate it.